This is epic. That is until their next meeting. Let's check out the starting lineup for Wichita State. The junior point guard, one of the best in the nation, Fred Van Vliet, who makes this team go. Thursday night lit it up in the win over Indiana for 27 points. While Kansas needs more from Perry Ellis, who is still bothered by that sprained knee. And the Jayhawks point guard, Frank Mason, had a strong second-round game of 17 points and 9 rebounds. Kansas head coach Bill Self, one of the best in the country. What a resume. And the same can be said for that man, Greg Marshall, in his 8th year at Wichita State. So this matchup finally taking place, not the result of Kansas saying, hey, let's put it on the schedule. Taking place by virtue of the seeding of the tournament, and with both schools coming up with wins this past Thursday night. The officiating crew, there it is, John Higgins, Kip Kissinger, and Greg Nixon. So Kansas with the first possession as Mason gives to Selden. Mason was working off a pick. Mason out, fadeaway, and here comes Wichita State.
I tell you, Wichita State, outstanding man-to-man defensive team. Rarely will they go to zone, and they're looking to push the ball up against a much taller Kansas squad.
Ball's knocked away from Darius Carter, and off the steal, back come the Jayhawks. Perry Ellis.
Perry Ellis with a knee injury says that he has to relax. You know, most injuries for players, once they've passed and you pass your physical, it just becomes mental. Perry Ellis saying, I have to get over that mental barrier, help my team out a little bit more.
And the question for Wichita State, can Ron Baker catch fire?
Well, you're looking at Kansas playing their man-to-man. They are a rock-solid defense, among the top 15-20% in the nation in points allowed per possession.
Carter attempting that shot was hacked on the play. We've seen Kansas leading the all-time series. They've won the last 5. It's the first meeting, as I mentioned, since 1993. And these two campuses separated by 162 miles. That's it. Foul is called on Ellis. Carter, just a 64% free throw shooter. Thursday night in the second round, Wichita State knocked off Indiana. Wichita State shot just 41% and only 2 of 13 from three-point range.
Carter may have to realize that even if he doesn't make his free throws tonight, he has to get to the line to put pressure on Perry Ellis. It's almost not so much if he makes them or misses them, but will he be aggressive enough to get to the line and put those guys in tough position for foul trouble.
Mason and Selden in the backcourt. Ellis, Oubre, and Lucas on the front line for Kansas.
Wichita State really doing a nice job of preventing a post feed.
Shot clock running down, and contact obviously made as Mason, with 3 on the clock, able to take the jumper. Foul's called on Evan Wessel. You can watch live games on your Amazon Fire HD, Windows, or other connected devices with NCAA March Madness Live. Watch now at ncaa.com/March Madness, or you can download the app, and you can do it today. Frank Mason, a sophomore out of Petersburg, Virginia, second team all Big 12, a 79% free throw shooter.
And Mason the other day against a team that they probably had a pretty easy time with. Nevertheless, he's the only guy that scored in double figures. And in that particular game, New Mexico State really didn't have an answer for him.
Lucas able to keep it alive.
All night, Carter's going to be charged with trying to make sure that he handles it inside, even though he doesn't have the size, and he's going to have to step up in the pick and roll as well.
Three-pointer is off, taken by Carter. We're just underway here in Omaha. Lee not able to hit on his first attempt. Mason fires for 3.
And that's exactly what he did against New Mexico State. Frank Mason stretching the floor, allowing the big players some room.
Kansas hitting their threes the other night. Here's Mason kicking it out. three-point attempt missed by Selden. Kept alive, though, in the backcourt by Lucas Selden. And an offensive foul is called.
That's what Carter is going to have to do today. He has to step up on the pick and roll. That's why Mason got this shot wide open. We all saw what Yogi Ferrell did to this team the other day with 24 points. It's going to be incumbent on the big fellas to help out on the guards, especially to show not giving them a drive to the lane.
Foul was on Oubre, the freshman out of New Orleans.
Wichita State right now wanting to get on the board again, trying to use a two-man game to screen and roll. That's their bread and butter.
Shaquille Morris has come on for Wichita State, and a reach-in foul. Foul is called on Mason.
Really looking forward to see how Ron Baker comes out and plays after a tough game. 3 for 13, 0 for 5 from the three-point line, their best player offensively. Want to see if he wants to come out aggressive or if he's going to let the game come to him.
Hitter at the foul line, 9 of 10 from the free-throw line. Van Fleet is able to hit from downtown. Fred Van Fleet out of Rockford, Illinois. Last season's Missouri Valley Conference Player of the Year and first-team All-Conference this season.
Picking up where he left off against Indiana, 27 points. Didn't really shoot anything from the perimeter, just layup. And speaking of layups, finally Kansas able to get it inside. You know, they want to play inside out. The more effective their bigs are, the better off Frank Mason will be from the perimeter.
That for Ellis' first field goal. Back come the Jayhawks. Mason puts the speed on. Mason to the left hand.
Now that's Frank Mason accepting the challenge. You know he watched Fred Van Vliet dominate the other day. And this young man is stepping up. These little individual battles, these guys watch each other all the time. Ron Baker was a Jayhawk fan growing up.
There's Van Vliet. He's off on a three-point attempt. You know, Ron Baker rooted for Kansas. He still has a poster of Kirk Heinrich on his bedroom door at home, but ended up at Wichita State because he's a late bloomer. Foul is called up top. Foul picked up by Oubre. So we're early, first half, 3-point, Kansas lead.
We are back in Omaha. It's game one between the Jayhawks and the Shockers. Well, the play of Kansas forward Perry Ellis is going to be huge today, but he hasn't quite been the same since he sprained that left knee in terms of offensive production and explosiveness. Ellis sprained the left knee back on March 3rd against West Virginia. He missed 2 games, and before the injury, he was averaging 14 points per game. But since he's been back between the Big 12 Conference games and the tournament here, he's only averaging 9. But the biggest question is really about the strength of that left knee. We saw explosiveness not quite the same. He missed a dunk right under the basket in game 1. He's got a brace on it, and Marvy told me that the knee is feeling good, but just don't know if the confidence there or the explosiveness, but they need him today.
All right, thank you, Lewis. He was in foul trouble the other night. And a good sign for Wichita State as Ron Baker was just able to drill that jump shot.
Well, Kansas right now may have a 1-point lead, but they've got one of their starters, Kelly Oubre, in foul trouble, already 2 personal fouls, so their bench is going to be tested this early.
And Devontae Graham and Brandon Green have both checked in. Selden lost the handle. The ball back to Wichita State.
And the one thing you can do, Lynn, you're exactly right, is put these Shockers in the bonus early. They're really good free throw shooters. Their guards are very aggressive, and it just changes the temperament of your team. You can't be as aggressive when you're worried about guys sticking around in the second half. It's because of foul trouble.
Baker gets it down low. Wild shot from Morris.
Yeah, Morris has got to get himself set better. Kansas is not a good post-up defense team.
Devontae Graham had a strong game the other night. Selden.
Great denial by Wessel. Wessel is out here playing his butt off defensively. He just denied at the top of the key. Came back, he's undersized in the post. Got around, fronted with a 3-quarter. Great deflection.
That pass intended for Jamari Traylor, who had just come on. Evan Wessel knows the other guys very well. In fact, went to high school with Perry Ellis. with teammates. They've known each other since they were 6 years of age. Here's Mason on the move. Red. And as Traylor goes for that rebound, a foul is called. It is on Jamari Traylor.
That's a great example of doing the little thing. You got 5'11", Fred Van Vliet blocking out the big fella, forcing him to go over his back.
And that team foul number 5 on Kansas.
That's
Woodbury with the 2, as you mentioned, and he is sitting down.
You talk about that box out. The whole country knows that's the personality of this Shocker team. They come out and they play hard, aggressive, and like you said, when you do the little things, the fundamentals, it gives you a greater margin of error because you can trust the fundamentals.
Traveling violation.
Marv, you can see exactly what Wichita State's trying to do. They looked at the numbers. Kansas is ranked 249th in points per possession allowed in the post. And they're trying to exploit that. But Carter has got to get a better handle on what he wants to do down low.
Wichita State inserting Rashard Kelly and Zach Brown, so both teams shuffling here at the start. Brand with the step, able to kick it out.
Nice.
And Traylor showing the outside touch.
Frank Mason so key for Kansas offense. His ability to penetrate, find spot on the shooters, as well as make some shots himself. There's an awful lot of pressure on that young man offensively. And so far, he's getting it done.
Zach Brown took it from Ron Baker. A pushing foul is called on Brandon Green of Kansas.
Right now, Wichita State's guards should step on the pedal as far as penetration. Put the referees in a tough position to make a tough call. You have fouls on your side. You may be able to get to the bonus, get extra possessions. They need to be aggressive attacking the basket.
This is Kelly for Wichita State. And back comes Kansas. So the Jayhawks in foul trouble. They have 6. The next would mean 1-1 at the line. Brand. Ellis with room. Yes. Perry Ellis able to knock it down.
Well, Perry Ellis has that range. Looks like he's more comfortable on the perimeter rather than down low. But wherever you're efficient, take advantage.
12-7 lead for the Jayhawks of Kansas. Baker for 3.
I'm trying to tell you, I love seeing how guys react to adversity. I wanted to see how Baker came out tonight. When you're a good shooter, you know you have a chance to make that next shot. All you have to do is let it fly. Baker with a nice follow.
He has hit both of his attempts, 1 from 2, 1 from 3. Traylor is off. Traylor not able to handle. Here come the Shockers. The block and a foul. The block by Brandon Green, but called for the foul.
Right here, you see Perry Ellis. He says, listen, I don't have too much confidence inside, but I can knock down this 3. And Baker says, I live on confidence. My jumper is always good, even when I miss.
Welcome back to Omaha, Nebraska. We take a look at the tournament summary, some of the highlights from yesterday. What a sensational game between Notre Dame and Butler. Fighting Irish in their first Sweet 16 appearance since 2003 as they move on. Kentucky with the win over Cincinnati. Best start in NCAA history at 36-0. We talked earlier about guys from each team knowing each other, particularly Perry Ellis and Evan Wessel. Ron Baker also teammates at Wichita Heights High School, where they won 3 state titles.
You notice how Ron Baker got rid of that perm now. Got more of the Beatle cut right now.
You know,
good.
When you talk about the familiarity between these two teams, there's a rumor as well that Coach Self was watching Van Vliet play, and he said, wait a minute, in high school, he's the best player out here. Why aren't we recruiting this guy? And he found out that just a week earlier, before he asked that question, Van Vliet had already committed to Wichita State.
And Baker wanted to go to Kansas, but he was actually about 5'6", 5'7", and grew in his high school days and ended up with Wichita State. And Ron Baker has been part of the story here for the Shockers. Let's see what he does here from three. Hit a three just a moment ago, and a foul is called. It is on the Shockers.
That opportunity began with problem trying to hit the post. Take a look right here, swing the ball back to Ellis, and look at the front by Carter. Nice job. Pressure on the ball when you front a guy in the post will yield some turnovers.
So Darius Carter of Wichita State picked up the foul. How about Landon Lucas? 4 rebounds here in the early going for Kansas. Game is tied at 12. Lucas looked to go back door, but handed off to Graham, and Graham is hacked.
That's the problem you're going to see all night, whether a dribble handoff or a pick and roll, which are the same plays, just a different way of distributing. Carter is going to have to step up. He's so worried about his man. He's not hedging enough. The guards of Kansas forcing their way into the paint.
Carter on the foul, his second, so Shaquille Morris checks back in, and Fred Van Vliet at the scorer's table, and he is waved on, so Ron Baker will get a rest.
When you look at the foul situation, only 3 team fouls for Wichita State, so they can play a little more aggressively, but offensively, you got to go to the basket.
Ellis on the drive. Looks to have a bit more bounce from we saw the other night. Oh, that shot went short.
He does, but the thing is, though, you have to be careful. You have to temper your aggression and your emotion, and that's really hard to do as a youngster. You usually give too much energy.
Brown is off on that 3-point attempt.
Again, settling for the jump shot. It's not working for Wichita State right now, as they have Kansas kind of where they want them in foul trouble, and their fouls are starting to pile up.
And Ellis was pushed by Shaquille Morris. First on Morris.
Wessler looks to be 5 inches shorter than Lucas, and he was just checking Lucas on the last play. You're exactly right. I think the guards are recognizing the mismatch inside, and they're going to try to exploit that.
Lucas 6'10", about 240. Sophomore out of Portland. Oubre with his first field goal.
That's exactly what happened there. Oubre with his length just towers over to Cale Cotton, who was trying to guard him.
Cotton, a good defender, but Fleet lost it. Kansas in possession halfway through this first half. Wichita State and Kansas meeting for the first time since back in 1993. Mason open for 3. Yes. Good start for Frank Mason. He now has 9 points, and that's his second from downtown. Kansas shot very well the other night. Their best shooting performance in some time. They hit 9 3-pointers, and they picked it up here in the first half. They're hitting from downtown. That's a tie-up. And the possession arrow indicates they'll stay right there.
Well, first of all, once again, inside out. Van Vliet looks to dig. Mason sets up. A nice delivery by Lucas for the jump shot. And on the other end, how about the hustle by Evan Wessel to tie up, get the possession arrow, obviously in their favor. They get another chance. But too many jump shots right now for Wichita State. Not really taking advantage of the foul trouble.
Good defense here by Kansas. Ron Baker is back on the floor. Pass intended for Baker, but it was off the mark. Oubre, great defense. Oubre was stripped, and he stepped out of bounds. Fred Van Vliet stepped out.
He's claiming he was pushed.
That was a late whistle.
Clear.
That was a late whistle, though. But Van Vliet already had possession and was almost to the free throw line when the call. Now, whether it's right or not is what's important. Nope. Well, maybe.
Pretty close.
Close enough, but Van Vliet was already almost to the free throw line before the whistle was blown.
So the ball back to Kansas. Now Morris will sit down. Ellis fires one up.
That's exactly what I mean. You can be aggressive, and then there's times that you have to slow yourself down. It's your heart rate, it's your thinking, it's the way that you communicate with teammates. And right now, you see that Ellis is trying to be there so much for his team. He may need to let it come to him because his injury is okay. It's just in his head. He'll be okay.
Kansas head coach Bill Self saying that Harry Ellis just doesn't have the same bounce. The explosiveness is not there, that he looks tentative, although it appeared earlier that things were okay, but as you mentioned, Chris, he's been forcing.
I've been through it before. The only way you can do it is if you go through it a couple times and understand how to calm yourself down early.
Traveling violation is called. All right, here's another look. Let's see if we get even a closer angle. Looks like he's out of bounds. He touched it.
He had bifocals on for that play, because that was a great call.
Just slightly made contact with the baseline.
I will say another thing I think might be in Perry Ellis' head is the fact he's playing against his longtime high school teammate, Evan Wetzel. And when two guys that have played for so long and been friends since kids are working against each other, you have maybe some overall anxiousness.
And Wetzel, a scrapper. He doesn't score much. You don't see it in the numbers, but a very important player. Shot clock.
Great step
out of 5. Mason has to lead it. And it carries out of bounds. The ball back to Wichita State.
Good defensive possession by Wichita State. Never let Kansas penetrate or go inside, which is what has been successful for them. Inside out. Double team inside. Mason gets a jumper outside. If not, post up or penetrate.
Greg Marshall going deeper into his bench. Bush, Wamakoto has just come on for more length. Cotton with the bucket. And it's a 3-point Kansas lead. Just under 8 to go in this first half. The Jayhawks, 27-8 coming in. 13-5 in the Big 12. And the foul is called, leading to a timeout. Just a couple of kids playing hoops nearby. Wamakoto called on that foul.
Good game of family knockout right there.
Oh yeah, no backboard. A look at our first half summary. Wichita State just 4 for 13 from the field, and they committed 6 turnovers. They are a team that does not turn the ball over. 5th nationally in that department, only 9 a game, so they usually take care of the ball. The good news for Wichita State, Ron Baker showing signs. He hit a 3, hit a 2. He had been in just an awful shooting slump. In fact, the cold shooting had continued from the Missouri Valley Conference tournament right through the other night against Indiana.
Well, Marv, you talked about the turnover situation, and Wichita State, as you mentioned, doesn't turn it over much. Also, they're +4 in turnover margin, so that's 4 extra opportunities, possessions that they get. Right now, they're -2 with those 6 turnovers. And they've been settling far too much for jump shots, have not explored inside out, hence they're only shooting 31% from the field right now.
Kansas up by 4. Marv Albert, Len Elmore, Chris Weber, and Lewis Johnson from Omaha, Nebraska. This is rebounded by Trailer for Kansas.
But that shot was missed, but that's the formula. You got to go inside out. You got to force the defense to adjust. You got to make some shots in the paint, though. Wichita State only 2 points in the paint.
Mason switching hands on the dribble, got the step, kicks it out. Trailer back the other way. Here's Ellis. Yes. Feet were set, have the height advantage, and a good look.
Outstanding ball movement by Kansas. They're running better offense than Wichita State right now.
Jayhawks up by 6 points. And all 3 officials blowing their whistle. So the foul is called.
The size of Kansas really bothering the penetration of the smaller Wichita State team. They're going to have to find a way not to get frustrated, keep driving the ball inside out, but try to get to the cup, especially since they're already in the bonus.
You know, one of those things that I noticed, though, Cale Cotton, he's not known as an offensive player, but when he goes hard. He's going tentatively to the basket right now.
And that foul on Morris of Wichita State. So Kansas back in possession. Graham works the point. Back to Mason. Ellis. Good ball movement here by the Jayhawks. Traylor is rejected. Traylor tried the reverse and was stopped. That counts, and the foul. That rejection by Wamakota. And meanwhile, at the other end, they come right back. Basket counts, and the foul.
What a great job as he tried to go in and dunk that ball right here. And Van Vliet said
he got more rejected by the rim than Wamakota.
Exactly. And Van Vliet said, wait a minute. I had a career high of 27 points the other night. It was because of 9 layups. I need to keep attacking the basket, especially with this team having a little bit of foul trouble.
And the Kansas foul on Mason, so Van Vliet at the line, an 80% free throw shooter, hit 9 of 10 Thursday night. Kansas up by 4, coming up on 6 minutes to play in this first half. Here's Graham on a pull-up, yes.
Beautiful basketball. Nice screen by Ellis, forced the switch, and Wessel didn't want to come out on Graham.
Oh, what a move, but the shot way off, attempted by Van Vliet.
Ellis on the other end took an elbow to the nose right there. And you know, that hurts, but that's a great job. You deserve that nosebleed. You know why? He kept his hands straight up. He stayed vertical. And when you do that on defense, you allow yourself to get punished a little bit. It hurts, but his team is saying, so what? We sacrifice ourselves right now, and what a great defensive play. Look at him. Staying vertical, not fouling. You're going to take an elbow in the face, but that's what tough players do when they play tough D.
You said it hurts. Easy for you to say.
Yeah, well, I've had him before. Hey, that's okay. He's 18, 20 years. He's all right. We got a lot of years left.
Chris showing much compassion.
No compassion. Just trying to make to the Sweet 16.
Spoken like a guy who dished it out instead of took it.
Just under 6 minutes remaining in this first half, and a 6-point Kansas lead.
People are complaining. That's a basketball play. Good play, unfortunately missed shot if you're a Wichita State fan. Outstanding defense, as you mentioned, by Ellis. And that's just incidental contact. It happened.
I want to see how Kansas plays offensively, though. The last 4 or 5 plays, Ellis was in the high pick and roll. That caused the problem because Ellis knocked down the 15-footer. Now you may not have a guy with that same skill set, and it may not be as easy to penetrate if you're Kansas.
And apparently they did review that last play with the contact on Ellis and checking out if it should be a flagrant, and they waved it off immediately.
Wichita State has to be careful now that they don't allow Kansas to speed them up. They're not all that comfortable speeding up in the half court, maybe in transition, but they like to play a pattern game.
Oh, the crossover does not work. Van Vliet picked off by Graham. So once again, Devontae Graham playing so well as he did the other night against New Mexico State with Wayne Selden in foul trouble. Graham hit a couple of threes, 4 assists, and this play.
And immediately after this play occurred, Van Vliet went to Wamakota and said, hey, I'm pretty sure he was telling him, I don't need that screen. You brought your man into play, made it too crowded for me. Let's keep the distance.
And foul is called on Wamakota, who is a junior out of Kenya. And they're in the 1-on-1. 7 turnovers now for the Shockers. Well, being open to try is being open-minded to try new things, so go ahead and try a Coke Zero. Wichita State had 7 turnovers for just, well, the entire game against Indiana the other night. They already have hit that mark.
You give Kansas an awful lot of credit. They've maintained the pressure. You know, they've stepped out on screens. The pick and roll is the bread and butter for the Shockers.
24-16 Kansas. And the Wichita State portion of the crowd trying to get the Shockers going. And
Look at the hard hit.
I ran into Lucas. There's Baker with a deep three, way off.
And that's the defense right there. Wichita State having to take low percentage shots because Kansas is a picket fence. Won't allow them to make.
Lucas got him deep.
One adjustment that Wichita State can make is that the big guy can slip on the pick and roll. Do not stay up so high to let the big guy be there. If you slip early, it'll make guys come, and you get an open shot just like that.
Evan Wessel able to knock down a three. And he stepped out of bounds. Green backed it up, stepped out. The ball back to Wichita State when we come back. Perry Ellis back on the Kansas bench, checking out the shot to the nose. He's playing with the sprained knee. Wichita State just 6 for 19, shooting 32%, only 6 field goals, along with the 7 turnovers.
And you can attribute that to outstanding defense by Kansas and Kansas' ability to get back and thwart any easy transition opportunities for Wichita State.
That's number 2 on trailer of Kansas. 9th team foul. The next means the double bonus as Bush Wamakota goes to the foul line. Crowd reacts to Jamari Traylor as he sits down. Wamakota only a 54% free throw shooter. He was a volleyball player in Kenya, did not play organized basketball until about 4 years ago. Another rebound for Landon Lucas of Kansas, number 6.
Look for Kansas to get back at that high screen and roll, using big guys as the outlet because Ellis and these other guys can pass and they have a size advantage.
Ellis back on the floor. Sheldon finding Ellis. Lucas kept it alive. This is Graham for 3. And Baker comes away with the ball.
And once again, as I mentioned, look how well Kansas gets back. No fast break opportunity.
And Baker, yes! Oh, he's feeling it.
Ron Baker reacting to his poor field game the other day. He was 3 for 13. Today, it's a little different. 2 of 4 from beyond the arc. Baker making something out of those shots.
The Sweet 16 begins Thursday with the Infinity NCAA tip-off on TBS at 6 p.m., followed by doubleheaders on CBS and TBS. So the winner tonight between Kansas and Wichita State will advance and play in Cleveland at the Q on Thursday night.
Mark, right now, Kansas, they've got to get their offense rolling again. The guy who leads them, Frank Mason, is third. His last bucket was at 9:45.
The lob intended for Ellis, and a foul is called. Wichita State in the midst of a 7-0 run. The last minute and a half, Brown of Wichita State called on the foul.
And you can see this is out of a timeout, again, looking to generate some offense. And as I was mentioning, Mason, their leader, hadn't had a bucket since the 9:45 mark. But that's pretty good play coming out of a timeout.
Ellis, a 72% free throw shooter out of just under 14 a game, which led Kansas.
Plays like that called by Coach Self aren't just for 2 points for the Kansas team. That was an alley-oop, and why? That was to instill more confidence, letting them know we believe in your athletic ability. Small plays like that can get a player rebound.
Zach Brown stopped by Landon Lucas. Stand for the ball, and Wessel came away with it for Wichita State.
That ball goes on the floor. You're not taking it away from Evan Wessel.
And now Greg Marshall wants to talk it over. Evan Wessel is Mr. Hustle. The coaches say he's a forward in a guard's body. He'll get everything under the rim. And he got it right there. What a three-point lead for the Jayhawks of Kansas. Wichita State, though, able to battle their way back with that 7-0 run.
Yeah, they've done a pretty good job defensively, particularly, but offensively, I think missed opportunity. They settled for jumpers when they could have driven Kansas deeper into foul trouble.
Baker tried the runner. And Mason comes across for Kansas.
And if you're Kansas, you should be disappointed that you only have a 3-rebound advantage when you have feet and feet of height advantage inside that paint.
There's Graham. Ellis. Against his high school buddy, Wessel. Coda's done a nice job coming off the bench. Picked off that rebound.
He sure has, and it's been with this pick and roll. He gets out of the way quick, and that allows the guards to penetrate or find a quick open lane to pass.
Oh, it counts, and the foul. What a move by Jaquel Cotton, the senior from Marietta, Georgia, going strong to the bucket.
Now remember earlier I said that when he goes, he usually goes hard, but he had been tentative. Not this time.
Foul committed by Lucas, his first. Cotton a 70% free throw shooter. This is fourth NCAA tournament, which these days most unusual. Three-point play for Jaquel Cotton, and the game is tied at 26.
Full court pressure now. And this is really to slow the tempo, get it back to where the Shockers are comfortable.
Mason watched by Baker. Baker's doing a nice job. Here's Selden.
This Wichita State team helps the helper. One guy comes over and helps, and the next guy is over.
Van Vliet able to knock down a three. And Wichita State has come from behind, and they lead it by 3. A 13-2 run for the Shockers.
I love the wistful look on Bill Self's face.
Yeah.
Coming up on AT&T, the half scores and highlights, plus the latest NCAA tournament news, all coming up on AT&T at the half. It's a 13-2 run for Wichita State. Kansas without a field goal the last 5 minutes of play. These two schools have not met since January of 1993 at Allen Fieldhouse, and Kansas won that game by 49 points. Foul is called on Rashard Kelly of Wichita State.
We talked about it, a wistful look on Bill Self's face after that Wichita State onslaught, trying to keep his guys comfortable in the game.
Well, wistful does describe it. Offensive rebound off that missed free throw, so Kansas in possession, and they can reset. Just setting the pick for Mason. Mason for 3. Lucas got to tip it, and it's out of bounds. The question is, well, last touch by Wichita State.
Great hustle there.
Oklahoma and Dayton playing right now in Columbus, and that game is being seen on TNT with Ryan Eagle, Greg Gottlieb, Evan Washburn. We're down to 22 seconds remaining in the first half.
Kansas really needs a score right here to be a momentum changer. Feel good about themselves going into the locker room.
And the shot clock is turned off. Mason playing the clock. Out of 5. Ellis, and the ball poked away. Out of 3, and the steal. Van Fleet. Oh, that was a very smart play. With time running out, he realized he had to get it off.
Wichita State so good at playing aggressive defense, getting up in your face without causing the fouls, especially late in the half.
So Wichita State ends the half on a 13-2 run over the last 4.5 minutes. And the Shockers with a 3-point lead on Kansas at halftime. Let's go to Lewis Johnson with Wichita State head coach Rick Marshall.
Well, Coach, early on, you guys were settling for the jumper, multiple turnovers, down by as many as 8. How did you get this offense going again and take the lead?
Well, we had to stop taking silly shots. We took about 3 or 4 silly shots, forced jumpers. We had them in the bonus, and we didn't take advantage of it. We finally made a few jumpers, which we haven't done in seems like 3 weeks, and we got stops. We finally contested them at the rim. We were building walls. I thought we had a couple of charges, but they called blocks, but that's just the way it goes.
We'll see you in the second half.
Thank you, Lewis.
Marv?
All right, thank you. That is the end of the first half. The score, Wichita State 29, Kansas 26. We send you to AT&T at the half after these messages. You are watching the NCAA Men's Basketball Championship. Ron Baker, 3 for 6 from the field. He's at 2 from downtown. Turnovers really hurt Wichita State at the start as they picked up 7 in a hurry, then settled down. Kansas with 6 turnovers. Kansas in possession in the white as this second half gets underway. And Mason able to take it to the rim.
Tell you what, Kansas now starting this half the way they started the first half. Frank Mason the third, the catalyst for the offense. Very quiet during Wichita State's run.
And again, a move to the rim, this time to Cale Cotton. Saw the opening. It counts in the foul.
With Kansas not taking advantage of their size inside, they only have a +4 on the rebounding edge, and against a much smaller team, it should be much larger than that. The guards are saying, wait a minute, okay, you guys aren't acting as big or as tall as you are. We're going to be aggressive, get the and one and finish strong.
Foul committed by Wayne Selden. Cotton, 70% free throw shooter, able to complete the 3-point play, so he has 8 points.
Yeah, on that last play, the help side for Kansas came way too late. It's as if they weren't even paying attention.
Kansas, a team that won its 11th consecutive Big 12 championship. Pass inside intended for Ellis, but a loss to Iowa State in the conference tournament title game, a disappointment. So Kansas is here as an at-large team, while Wichita State, out of the Missouri Valley Conference, went 29-4, 17-1 in the conference. They're here as an at-large. The steal in the bucket. Once again, it is Cotton. Wichita State with its biggest lead. They're up by 6.
When you're the higher-seeded team, you're down 6 to start the second half. You have to fight against rushing it and trying to get all the points back yourself.
Perry Ellis right back for Kansas.
Perry Ellis playing a little silencer right there against his high school teammate. Kansas needs more entry passes down low to put the pressure on the Wichita State D.
And the foul is away from the ball. It is called on Landon Lucas.
This is a team steal right here. Cotton may be the recipient of it as far as on the stat sheet, but his team did such a great job denying. It's almost like cover D. Coverage defense was so great. bad pass right there by Kansas, not paying attention to detail.
Wichita State with balanced scoring. Cotton now a high man with 10, 8 apiece for Baker and Van Vliet. This is one of the better three-guard sets in the country. Cale Cotton on Baker, Fred Van Vliet. Ball's deflected. And last touch by Kansas. 16 on the shot clock. Wichita State has not been as dominant as they were last season. They finished the regular season undefeated, 34-0 in the regular season, won their first game of the tournament over Cal Poly, and then lost to Kentucky in the round of 32. And Fleet. Mason able to get to it for Kansas.
Marv, to your point, a lot of people think this team is much better as a team, despite the 35-1 of last year.
Well, Lucas able to battle to keep it alive. Ellis inside is fouled. A lot of traffic down low. Darius Carter was apparently picking, he picked up his third foul.
And the reason I say that people think this might be a better team is because they've had to play as a team, particularly on the defensive end. Last year they had some pretty prominent offensive individuals, particularly Clee Anthony early. This year they've had to play more as a team, and you take a look at Wichita State outscoring Kansas over the last 7 minutes.
How about Lucas? 10 rebounds, 4 on the offensive glass. Mason turned back, and the ball out of bounds off Mason of Kansas.
Defense by committee. When you're undersized, you have to play defense by committee. That's what the three guards just did. Actually, 4 if you want to include Wessler, who's a big fella in the guard's body, coming over to help on that layup.
Wichita State in the black uniform in possession. 2.5 gone by in the second half. Cotton putting behind the back and then firing. Rebounded by Ellis for Kansas.
Now that's one of those silly shots Greg Marshall talked about at the end of the first half. Not necessary to Cale Cotton so successful putting it on the floor going to the hole.
And again, contact underneath. Foul on Wanakota, who started the second half off his good play in the first half. He's a 6'11", 230-pound junior out of Kenya. Greg Marshall going with some height. Ellis battling for that loose ball, and a foul is called. It is on Van Vliet. That is just his first. These two schools have not met since January of 1993. Last met in the NCAA in 1981. Wichita State beat Kansas in the Battle of New Orleans. In that game back in 93 regular season, it was a 49-point victory by the Jayhawks. Overall, this is only the 15th meeting. It started back in 1908. That's the first time they met. Sheldon.
Squeeze that! Outstanding defense by Cotton that time. Took away the angle to the basket, forced Sheldon for the pull-up. And Cale Cotton was all over the place.
And it's Evan Wessel hitting his second three of the game. Shoots 34% from three, but not a player who looks for the long-range shot.
Evan Wessel making his presence known.
Kansas in the midst of a struggle. They have missed 11 of their last 13 shot attempts. Wichita State had its problems early. Things have turned around. Pass intended for Lucas. And off the scramble, Parker's come up with it.
Wessel is everywhere. Wessel is fronting. He's 3/4 to 9. He's not letting the defender, his offensive man, get a feel.
Look at this. Fred Van Vliet. with lots of room and no help gets to the rim.
And right now, Kansas is being dominated mentally as well as physically. Wichita State getting to all the 50-50 balls. Coming out of a timeout, you should never have the mentality where a guy gets an easy layup like that.
Now Mason on the drive. He's turned back. Stolen by Van Vliet. He's on the run. He's green. And the tip home. Baker on the follow. Able to convert the tip. An 11-point lead for Wichita State. All right, thank you, Greg. And as you look at the brackets, the #1 seed Villanova going home, defeated by North Carolina State, 71-68. Another wild day yesterday. We're told that the Wichita State training staff is working on Fred Van Vliet's left bicep. What a terrific atmosphere it has been here in Omaha. Sellout crowds every night here at Van Vliet. Good hustle again by Wichita State. Look at every loose ball. Cotton with the bucket.
Well, Marv, Kansas just went to a 2-3 zone on that, and whenever you play zone, the weakness is offensive rebounding. They tried to switch something up. They got Wichita State to take a bad shot, but left the board wide open for another possession.
Graham pulling it back, putting moves on, and then lost it. Another Kansas turnover.
Turnover by a freshman once again. Pressurized situation.
Baker for three. Kept alive. And Vliet not able to hit. Wessel gets to it. And they get, oh, it's picked off. And is fouled. Hit hard.
Well, obviously, big Shaquille Morris wishes he had that back, but it's been overall mental dominance by Wichita State. You take a look here, poor communication. Look at the point. Nobody is going to take him. And by the time Frank Mason gets there, it's too late. And that came out of a timeout. So the lack of awareness, the lack of intensity just tells you that, unfortunately, the young Jayhawks' minds are somewhere else. They better get back in this floor.
And Wichita State with their first turnover over the last 11 minutes. Devontae Graham at the line, a 71% free throw shooter. Freshman out of Raleigh, North Carolina. Tired of hearing the same sports headlines on repeat? Well, get everything about your favorite teams. Get it all first. Download the Team Stream app from Bleacher Report. 6 minutes gone by. Second half. A 43-34 lead for the Shockers of Wichita State.
Kansas still in the zone.
Russell had a notion, but changed his mind. He's hit a couple from downtown.
Wichita State is comfortable with time going off the clock. They like to play slow.
There's Wessel again. That's his third three-pointer.
He's a 34% three-point shooter. I'm not surprised he's taking those shots. Why? Because he has a bigger guy on him, and when big guys come out to check smaller guys, they are not used to being out on that terrain. And so what happens? You have more space on your jump shots.
Evan Wessel, 9 points, 7 rebounds, 3 of 4 from beyond the three-point beyond the three-point line. Foul is called on Wichita State. It is on Morris.
Great ball movement. The zone, the pressure doesn't fluster this team. He's wide open in the corner. Why? This team doesn't become nervous or with the shot clock going down. They're used to playing with a deliberate pace.
And it was also outstanding spacing. You saw how far that the defenders had to come in the zone.
Frank Mason, Kansas point guard, shake it up and making his way back to the Jayhawk bench. Brandon Green has checked in now for Kansas. Wessel and Van Vliet getting the rest. They sit out. Ellis is rejected and fouled.
Wichita State foul at 0. Rashard Kelly, that's his second personal foul. The team's 6.
Kansas going back to their bread and butter. As long as Ellis is in the game, he poses a mismatch nightmare at the top of the key in the pick and roll. Why? Because he's one of the tall players, one of the few exceptions that can catch and shoot, drive and shoot, or drive the pass to a teammate.
A foul on Rashard Kelly. Perry Ellis, 72% free throw shooter. And he's 3 for 3 at the line tonight. It's a 10-point lead for Wichita State.
With Van Vliet getting a rest right here, it's very important for the guards to make sure they prize each possession, but also get a shot, get an assist for another man.
And that is a three. To Cale Cotton.
Kansas has got to come out of that zone right now. They're going to have to challenge shooters. Apply more pressure. Time's running out.
This is Trailer. Ellis trying to put it down. And a foul. How about Cotton now with 15 points? 10 coming in the second half.
And those are not curls. Van Vliet is doing. He's flexing that left bicep. That collision costs Frank Mason III, but also costs Fred Van Vliet.
Let's check in with Lewis Johnson. Lewis.
Yeah, Marv, that arm movement by Van Vliet has been going on for several minutes. We've seen it over multiple timeouts where he was showing some favoritism and some issues with that left bicep. They rubbed some analgesic on it, but don't know quite what it is, but something's really bothering him, but he seems to be playing through it.
Wichita State is deep in the backcourt, so they're going with Ron Baker and Cale Cotton. Both can handle. Van Vliet sits it out. Nice move by Darius Carter.
Well, you talk about an added benefit. You're getting points inside. And the defense has to honor guys on the post as well as the perimeter.
Ellis putting it on the floor, and he is fouled. Ellis spending much time at the line. Kelly called on the foul.
Darius Carter in foul trouble in the beginning. Look at him. Goes up with the left, changes his mind as he sees the position of the defender. Very important to keep your focus. Foul trouble really can throw you off offensively and defensively. Great concentration by Carter.
Landon Lucas is back for Kansas, coming on for Jamari Trailer. And Evan Wessel, who has been a major contributor at the offensive end and defensive end, is back on the floor.
Well, you can see Kansas offensively. They're trying to ride Perry Ellis, who is very capable of putting points on the board in a hurry, but he's going to need some help. The adjustment by Wichita State will probably be to crowd him and force somebody else to get something done.
And Fred Van Vliet also returns for Wichita State.
You know, Marv, I've really never liked teams that have gone to a zone. If we were offensively playing you and we saw you go to a zone, we know we've already defeated you. We know you understand that you can't check us and you're going to a gimmick. And right now, you see Kansas is going back to man-to-man.
Carter on the hop down low. And as Cotton makes his move, a reach-in is called. Oubre picks up the foul. It is Wichita State 51 and Kansas 40. The winner will advance to the Sweet 16 in Cleveland.
You look here, Wichita State getting 3 buckets off of 3 steals. They've been hustling all night, started by Wessler, Van Vliet. They've been playing defense by committee. Look at him push it up here. He knows to get to the bucket, he has to be aggressive.
It is Wessel once again from three-point land. For more degree game-changing moments, log on to ncaa.com/game-changing moments. And Evan Wessel has had several game-changing moments. What a performance. It's a career game for Evan Wessel. Ram from three-point range.
For Kansas, that's a good sign. They get back into this ball game, though, by playing defense. You got to string together some stops.
Cotton up top. Getting the high screen. Cotton nearly lost it. Van Vliet. And again, they're playing the clock in no hurry with that big lead. Shot clock to 3. Cotton not able to hit. And back come the Jayhawks. And down by 11. Graham thought he had a step, did not. Back in the hands of Graham.
The defense of Wichita State really forces you to push the ball back. They don't give you any penetration unless it's off balance.
Oubre gets it down low to Lucas. Landon Lucas on a nice lead pass from Kelly Oubre.
Brown is going to have to commit to come over. If you get dunked on, so what? That's supposed to. But right now, nothing is guaranteed. You have to help your teammate.
Wessel looked like he was going to fire one up and then changed his mind.
His high school teammate closed on him.
Rebounded by Ellis. Just under 10 remaining, second half. Oubre. I was surprised he got so close to the hoop. And then it's deflected out. Last touch by Kansas. And here comes Frank Mason checking back in for the Jayhawks.
I talked about it. Wessel setting up for the 3. Perry Ellis on the right. Closed on him. Those guys combined to win some state championships, 3. And then after Evan Wessel graduated, Perry Ellis went on to win 1 more.
Now Bush, Wamakoto, who played well early on, is checked back in. Oh, knocked away. Oh, what a play. Zach Brown on the steal and the finish. Wow.
Zach Brown made up for not being there on that defensive coverage last time. Says, my fault, I'll get a steal, converted myself.
Zach Brown, a freshman out of Houston. Wichita State backed up by 11. Graham fires for 3. These are not good shots being attempted by Kansas. They get a break right there. Last touched by Kelly of Wichita State.
Anticipation, hand in the passing lane, and then you get the flush at home so your family at home can talk about you all weekend.
And that's not only 2 points, that's a statement. The hustle and the flush is telling Kansas something. And Marv, you're right, that was pretty fortuitous that they got the ball back.
Tamari Trailer back on the floor for Kansas. Graham and Mason at the guards. Good job defensively by Baker. After revert, here's Mason. He had a bad shot. He forced it. Wichita State's defense has something to do with what's happening out here. Kansas has been taken out of its offense here in the second half.
And that defense is really what's done it. The scrambling and the hustle as much as positioning. And on the other end, earlier we talked about Wichita State needing to slow the game down a little bit. Kansas was revving them up. Now it's Wichita State that's relishing the opportunity to push the ball up the floor.
And you can see the differential in the second half. And remember, Wichita State ranked second. Well, they did rank second in the conference and 9th nationally defensively, allowing only 56 points a game. Kansas with 7 turnovers in the second half. Nice hesitation dribble by Van Vliet, leading to the foul call. It's number 4 on Mason.
That's why you have to throw all statistics out the window when it comes to this tournament. No stats, nothing that you can look at on paper can show you the heart of a team. And right now, if you didn't know which team or what jersey either team is wearing, you would say the tallest team, the team with the biggest heart, is Wichita State.
And that is a foul. Good effort, though, from behind. As Devontae Graham went for the block. But that'll put Van Vliet at the line. 16 fouls for Kansas, 8 for Wichita State. Fred Van Vliet, an 80% free throw shooter. Or you can watch Masters live on CBSSports.com for exclusive video of Amen Corner 15 and 16. 2 featured groups, plus highlights and analysis. Watch CBSSports.com and Masters.com.
Take a look at Frank Mason with the ball right now. He's got 4 personal fouls. Down 13 with 8:14 to go. That's the level of desperation that Bill Self finds himself in. He's got to keep his point guard on the floor.
They clear it out for Mason. Mason. Rebound is short. Traylor is there for another attempt. Gets it outside. Here's Mason for 3. Yes.
And that's one of the few opportunities to score some buckets. And Frank Mason, one of the few offensive players on the floor right now for Kansas.
Very poised Wichita State team. In no hurry. Once again, taking a good portion of the shot clock. And Blake fighting the field demand. Brown for 3. Zach Brown off the bench. Did the job Thursday night against Indiana. Had a strong game, 11 points and 8 rebounds. And he has come on here down the stretch against Kansas.
Marv, that dunk and steal gave him more confidence to knock that shot down.
Ram from 3. A collision off to the side. In fact, Baker came up hobbling.
Officials say play on. He and Selden.
Just under 7 minutes remaining. Second half. And Bleak had it knocked away, deflected out. Last touch by Kansas. And a timeout is taken. Wichita State with a 10-point lead. You're watching the NCAA Men's Basketball Championship. Third round play, the round of 32 of March Madness. The winner advancing to the Sweet 16 to face Notre Dame in Cleveland. Oh, high off glass. Baker able to hit. He has 12 points. He's done it from a variety of spots. We've seen the entire repertoire.
And another creative out-of-bounds play drawn up out of a timeout by Greg Marshall. He's become the mad scientist on baseline plays.
12-point lead for Wichita State. Ridley on the follow. And again, he'll head to the line.
You have to work 2 or 3 possessions to score against this smaller Wichita State team. The way they move their feet, their body angles, it shows that they do a lot of practice of one-on-one defending because they don't bail out with reaching and poor plays.
Zach Brown called for the foul. Over a 72% at the line, a 6'7" freshman out of New Orleans. Let's check in with Lewis.
Yeah, Marvin, what Bill Self wants to happen is what Oubre just did. He said in that last timeout he wants you guys to drive the ball downhill, get it down low. He's trying to get them to understand that they've got plenty of time, but they've got to play. Somehow try and cut this deficit to 5, and then they'll take it from there.
Oubre, a player who attacks the basket, can also hit from long range. 10-point lead. Coming up on 6 remaining. Little pressure here by Kansas. There's Wessel out to Cotton. Oh, the steal by Graham. And lays it in.
Outstanding defense right there, playing with intensity. Give Van Vliet some credit though. He exercised some discretion not to foul and create a 3-point opportunity. But Kansas revved up.
Pressure being shown by Kansas, and timeout is called by Greg Marshall. They might have been a second away from a violation. So Graham with 14 points, 10 have come here in the second half. 8-point game. Look at our game summary. Wichita State at 48%, 22 of 46. Kansas shooting just 36%. And prior to their last game against New Mexico State, that's been the story. They have not shot well. Also, lots of turnovers, particularly in the second half, committed by the Jayhawks. Off the pressure, they get it across 3 out. It counts, and the foul.
That's the name of the game. You press me, I'm going to make you pay. And Wichita State attacks. Ball barely touches the floor. And there's the finish by Darius Carter.
Thought Van Vliet was in a little bit of trouble. You never want to catch the entry pass in that corner. Bailed out by Baker, streaking down their best shooter. Great ball handler, getting it to Carter.
You got him?
Unable to complete the three-point play. Wichita State up by 10, just under 5.5 remaining.
Plenty of time left for Kansas if they continue to attack. Maybe get some luck just like that as Wessel falls to the floor.
The southpaw Kelly Oubre with 7 points. It's down to 8 again.
For Kansas, Perry Ellis, Frank Mason, above their averages. Wayne Selden has to step in here right now. 0 for 5, 0 points. They need him offensively.
Oh, nice pass. Beautiful setup. Van Vliet for Carter. Carter now has 8 points. Back to a 10-point lead for the Shockers of Wichita State. Selden lost it. He was stripped. Here comes Cotton. Cotton all the way. And scores. To Cale Cotton. Bill Self wants to talk it over.
Dare I say it? Cotton picking Kansas apart.
That's too easy.
Hello.
12-point lead for the Shockers. Well, guys, the last time Wichita State and Kansas met in the NCAA tournament, the 1981 Sweet 16 in the Battle of New Orleans, and Wichita State got by Kansas 66-65. The Shockers went on to face LSU in the Elite Eight and were eliminated. They lead it here 69-57 as we come up on 4.5 remaining in this second half. Balanced scoring here by Wichita State, led by Cale Cotton, his 17 points. Evan Wessel has been the biggest surprise, hitting from downtown. This is Graham. Shockers back in control.
It's not going to happen by just pulling up, taking mid-range shots. You have got to challenge this Wichita State defense, force them to foul, get close to the rim.
And once again, patience being shown by Wichita State. They're playing the clock. And Blake lost it. Mason cuts to the left, kicks it out. Oubre unable to hit from downtown.
1 and out. Wichita State making sure they limit the Kansas opportunities down the stretch here.
This is when Wichita State has an advantage. When they have a lead late in the game, why? They like playing at this pace. They like milking the clock.
Baker checking out the shot clock. It is down to 6. Baker. Ellis with the rebound. Mason puts the speed on. Mason is fouled.
And you have got to see that if you're Bill Self. You got to see something like that every possession after you make a stop.
Timeout, 3:11 remaining. Second half.
Welcome back to Omaha, where Evan Wessel has been showing us how dominant he can be on the floor. Look, season average only 4 points. And we're going to show you 4 of his 5 shots. Guess what? They were 3-pointers. Pretty jump shots from a guy that does all the dirty work on Wichita State shots.
12 points, 7 rebounds for Wessel. He's hit 4 of 5 from three-point range. Kansas out of timeouts. Wichita State has 3 remaining. 3 minutes, 11 seconds to play in the second half. Mason back at the line. The winner between Kansas and Wichita State advancing to the Sweet 16 to go up against Notre Dame. What a thrilling victory they came up with yesterday. After all the games are over, Matt Wider, Seth Davis, Mateen Cleaves, and former Alabama coach Anthony Grant have all the highlights and analysis on Inside March Madness presented by Buick, only on TDS.
And as expected, full court pressure. Kansas looking to steal right now. Looking to disrupt Wichita State and try to increase possession.
The Shockers handle the press very well. Here's Wessel, this time unable to hit from downtown. And back comes Mason for Kansas. Mason puts the move on Baker, fires it out. Crowd wanted to travel. Almost got through him. I'd say the Wichita State portion of the crowd wanted the steps called. And Vliet pulled up. The foul called on Mason, and that is number 5. He has fouled out.
I'll tell you what, you had to roll the dice. Frank Mason gave it his all. One of the few real offensive threats, trying to play tough D. But that's a veteran right there. Fred Van Vliet knowing how to draw the foul and get his counterpart out of the game.
Frank Mason, sophomore out of Petersburg, Virginia, second team all Big 12, so he departs with 16.6 rebounds. And you see the reaction of the Jayhawk bench.
Famous quote from one of my favorite coaches, Coach Carrill from Princeton. He always talks about how speed can neutralize talent. And you've seen that tonight from the point guards of the Shockers, especially now late in the game where their best ball handlers are their best free throw shooters, and they're going to keep the ball in their hands.
Young man's got nothing to hang his head about. He's had a terrific tournament, but his teammates just couldn't stay with him.
Kansas getting off to the good start. And then Wichita State came back with that 13-2 burst, and they have led since then. Wichita State had turnover difficulties early. They shut that down, and this game turned around. Coming up on 2.5 remaining. A 71-59 lead for Wichita State. Matchup in a game of a rivalry that actually did not exist.
So they will tell you that it wouldn't exist unless you're within the borders of the state of Kansas. War of words.
Foul is on Shaquille Morris. And Ellis to the line. Well, these two schools have not met since back in January of 1993. Last met at the NCAA, as we showed you, back in '81. You can see about 162-mile difference from campus to campus.
And you got to give the people what they want. You know, this game shows that it should be a mandate that they have to play each other. Make it a rivalry like a Michigan and Michigan State, Michigan, Ohio State. Make it a rivalry. Why not? You got a lot of great kids in this community. North Carolina, Duke. They want to be recruited by both places.
And there is the governor of Kansas, Sam Brownback, who is playing it in very political fashion. He's wearing a T-shirt that features both Kansas and Wichita State.
Well, Chris, going back to your point, I thought you said you understood why Bill Self wouldn't play Wichita State.
I was saying that at the open, but I'm more of an underdog. Yeah, I'm more of an underdog-minded person, and I'm saying you play the other guys that want to play. You give them a chance if you're that good. If you can brag to recruits our program is better, you show them and you recruit by saying we won there last year or we lost there last year, not by the big difference of we're the big school and you're the small school.
So you're running for governor now, right?
Oh, no. I definitely don't want to be governor here.
I was going to mention the political aspects of Chris. He tried to change his mind, Len. Here's for 3. That wasn't what.
No. I felt that way the whole time.
Oubre on the follow.
But if you listen to the fans in the state of Kansas, blue bloods of Kansas versus the blue collar of Wichita State. And that's how they like to portray themselves.
And the foul on Ellis. Well, Greg Marshall had been saying that he's been trying for years to schedule a game against Kansas. Bill Self made the point in the past he'd rather schedule non-conference games in cities like LA and Boston and New York and Washington, the Bay Area, which he says are valuable recruiting areas, but as we talked about the other day, does it actually come down to Kansas not having anything to gain, and they'd never hear the end of it if they lose to Wichita State, which will happen, I would say, for a few weeks in the state of Kansas.
It's never anything to gain in an in-state rivalry except bragging rights. For 6 months till you play each other again, we're acting like someone is going to lose their campus in a bet to the other team. It's just basketball. Let these great kids play each other, have a great rivalry, give somebody bragging rights for a couple months.
But as Lynn mentioned earlier, you step away from the strong feelings between the two schools and alumni from both schools, and you look back at last season's and this year's performance by Wichita State. Wichita State doesn't really need validation. They've done it.
It's not validation. The best should play the best. No excuses.
All right, here comes Baker. Lead pass. And foul. As Cotton hits the deck. They will take a look at that.
Oh, that's definitely, they've already called it a flagrant one. Or flagrant. They may not have made a determination if it's a 1 or 2. I think it's a 1. Kelly Oubre. It was excessive. It was from behind, as the rules say, and it was not a legitimate play on the ball. I don't think Kelly Oubre wanted to hurt nor intended to hurt, and even though intention is not part of the foul. But nevertheless, that fit every aspect of the flagrant 1 definition.
Yes, excessive contact or pushing or holding a player from behind to prevent a score. 2 shots on the ball. John Higgins working his 19th NCAA tournament, including 5 Final Fours. The lead assistant took a look at it, and it is the flagrant 1. And Oubre has fouled out. Kelly Oubre, freshman out of New Orleans. Kansas, a very young team that will gain much experience from what has taken place in this NCAA tournament.
Yes, I mentioned it before. They've gotten almost 3/4 of their minutes, almost 3/4 of their scoring from freshmen and sophomores. And here they're playing against a team in Wichita State that's got outstanding seniors. And a couple of pretty tough juniors as well. Battle-tested guys.
And you see the roster breakdown. Just the 1 senior. Once again, we will see Wichita State in no hurry. Foul is given. Foul picked up by Brandon Green. Tonight on CBS begins with 60 minutes and what it's like to be targeted by ISIS, plus the secret element behind the world's latest technologies, followed by new episodes of Madam Secretary, The Good Wife, and Battle Creek. That is only CBS. So Wichita State will make it 11 wins, their last 12 games, a record of 30-4, 30 or more wins for 3 consecutive years, and they're headed to the Sweet 16 for the 2nd time over the last 3 years, only the 4th time in school history. And this will be the first win against Kansas since January of 1987. They have lost 5 in a row, and they're headed to play the Fighting Irish of Notre Dame Thursday in Cleveland. And hearing it from this crowd.
The toughness of Wichita State. They earned this game. They came in undersized. They used their quickness. They fought on every possession. And if you're just at home using your eye test and you want to see who the aggressors were, you know the guys in the black uniforms were all night.
And Float at the line for 2 more. Strong all-around game. 16 points, 6 assists, 5 rebounds.
And I tell you what, never underestimate the heart of people who are accustomed to winning. Final Four 2 years ago, 35-1 last year. A number of holdovers. Those guys are the ones who stepped up. Evan Wessel, Fred Van Vliet, Ron Baker, Takale Cotton, sprinkling in a little Darius Carter. Those guys know what it takes to win.
And again, we're hearing from the Shocker contingent in this capacity crowd, standing and cheering. Cotton tried to shovel it down low, so ball back to the Jayhawks, who will lose in the round of 32 for a second straight season. Lost to Stanford last year. And there's a three-pointer. Graham now with 17 points. Time is running out on Kansas. Takale Cotton, the high point man with 19, a terrific second half. Strong all-around performance by Fred Van Vliet. And Ron Baker back in the offense. He had 12. How about 4 threes for Evan Wessel? And that will do it. A 78-65 victory for Wichita State over Kansas. A look at the brackets as Wichita State will head on to Cleveland, Ohio. And on Thursday night, they will meet up with the Irish of Notre Dame. So for Chris Webber, Glenn Elmore, and Lewis Johnson, Marv Albert saying so long from Omaha. Final score again, Wichita State 78, Kansas 65. Thanks to producer Scott Cockerell, director Lonnie Dale, our statistician Paul Evans. Live games continue on TBS, TNT, and True TV tonight on CBS. 60 Minutes, followed by Madam Secretary, The Good Wife, and Battle Creek. This has been a presentation of CBS Sports.